All right, let's talk about something that's honestly been bugging me since I saw it break. Because once again, the Knicks are standing in a crowded room fighting for a guy that half the league suddenly wants. If you've been paying attention to this front office the last few summers, you already know exactly the vibe I'm about to bring, so buckle up. And hey, before we get into it, smash that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel more than you think. And drop a comment the second something I say gets you fired up. I read every single one. So here's the situation. Nick Richards, 28 years old, 7-foot center, currently sitting out there as an unrestricted free agent. And instead of this being some quiet little depth signing that nobody talks about, it's turned into an actual sweepstakes. Multiple contending teams are circling him. And yeah, the Knicks are one of them, but so are the Lakers, and so is the Heat. 3 teams with real title aspirations, all looking at the same guy, all willing to pay him basically the same minimum veteran deal. And that tells you everything about how teams around the league are valuing size and rim protection heading into next season. Now, let's break down why this guy is actually worth the attention, because I don't want you thinking this is some throwaway signing that doesn't matter. Richards was a second-round pick back in 2020. Spent his first 4+ years grinding out in Charlotte, then bounced through Phoenix and Chicago, picking up minutes and experience along the way. He's not a superstar. Nobody's pretending he's walking into a locker room and demanding shots. But he's a legit 7-footer who protects the rim, cleans the glass, and finishes what's around him. Career averages sit around 7 points and just under 6 rebounds a game. And last season specifically, he was putting up right around 6 and 5. Those aren't gaudy numbers, but for a guy on a veteran minimum contract, that's exactly the kind of low-cost, physical presence that playoff rotations actually need in April and May. And that's my issue right here. That's where frustration kicks in for me as a Knicks fan. We are constantly, and I mean constantly, in these bidding situations for glue guys, for rotation pieces, for the exact type of player that should not require this much competition to land. We're not talking about a max free agent here. We're talking about a backup center on a minimum salary, and somehow it's turned into a 3-team tug of war with 2 other legitimate title contenders standing right next to us. That should tell you something about where the league currently sits when it comes to interior size and depth. Everybody wants it, nobody has enough of it, and the Knicks are once again in the mix, having to actually compete for scraps instead of just writing a check and moving on. Let's talk about the other 2 teams chasing him for a second, because I think it matters. The Lakers, despite already loading up their front court this offseason with Walker Kessler and a 3-time champion in Kevin Looney, are still out here shopping for more size. Think about that for a second. This is a front office that already has multiple bigs on the roster, and they're still circling Richards because insurance against injury and extra physicality apparently matters that much right now. If a team that's stacked at center still feels a need to add more, that's not a small signal. That's the league basically screaming that size wins in the playoffs. Then you got Miami, who you already know runs their program with almost obsessive attention to toughness and rebounding. So of course they're in on a guy like this too. It fits exactly what they do. And that's the world the Knicks are operating in. We're not just trying to outbid some rebuilding team looking to hit the reset button. We're going head-to-head with a Lakers team that's clearly building for one more real run, and a Heat team that always finds a way to squeeze value out of role players. If New York actually wants this guy, it's not going to be as simple as just showing interest. Here's another layer to this that I want you to sit with for a second, because it's kind of funny in a frustrating way. The Lakers technically have a roster problem right now. All 15 of their standard roster spots are already filled after they added Zaire Williams on a 1-year, $3 million deal. So if they actually want to bring Richards in, they'd have to cut somebody or find a trade just to clear the space first. That's not nothing. That's an actual logistical hurdle standing between them and getting this deal done. And honestly, part of me wonders if that opens a small window for the Knicks to just be quicker, be more decisive, and lock this guy in before the Lakers even sort their roster mechanics out. Now, drop a comment and tell me straight up, do you think the Knicks front office moves fast enough to actually win this kind of race? Because that's been the real question the last couple off seasons, right? It's never really been about whether New York identifies the right targets. It's about whether they close. And I want to hear your honest take on that in the comments below. And while you're down there, hit that like button too. Seriously, it takes 2 seconds, and it tells me you actually want more breakdowns like this. Let's zoom out for a second and talk about why this actually matters for the Knicks specifically, beyond just the name on the transaction. This roster has had real conversations about depth at the 5 spot for a while now. You need bodies that can bang inside during a long playoff run without your starters getting worn down by March. A guy like protect the rim and rebound at a solid level, even in a limited role, is exactly the type of low-risk, potentially high-reward veteran minimum addition that makes a real difference in a 7-game series. It's not flashy. It's not going to trend on social media the way a big trade would. But these are moves that actually decide whether you're surviving a second-round matchup or getting bounced early because your bench got exposed. And look, I get it. Some of you are going to say it's just a backup center. Why does it even matter? Why am I even making a whole video about this? But that's exactly the mentality that's held this franchise back at times. Championship teams don't just win with their stars. They win because their 10th, 11th, 12th guy on a roster can step in for 8 or 10 minutes and not be a liability. If the Knicks are serious about actually competing for a title and not just making noise in the regular season, these are the exact battles they need to be winning. So here's where I land on this. I want New York in this fight. I want them aggressive. I want them moving before the Lakers sort out their logistics, and before Miami does what Miami always does. This is a cheap, low-risk swing that could genuinely pay off in a playoff series, and if the front office lets this one slip through their fingers the way some other depth pieces have in recent years, I'm going to have a lot to say about it. Let me know down in the comments who you think actually lands him, Lakers, Heat, or our Knicks, and while you're typing that out, go ahead and hit like on this video, share it with somebody who needs to see it, and subscribe if you want to stay locked in on every single Knicks roster move this offseason, because there's a lot more coming and I don't want you missing any of it. I'll see you in the next one.